Say hi, Dixie. Hey guys, so I shot a video talking about a few things that I don't like about the Jeep Gladiator, and there's a few things I left off that list. So, I mean, obviously the truck's not perfect, but what truck is, you know? No matter what you buy, you're gonna find a few things you don't like about it. But I thought today would be a good opportunity to talk about the things that I do like about this truck. In fact, there's some things about this truck that I just absolutely love. So let me show you a few things that So one of the things that I just really love about this truck is this gauge cluster. Now this is the optional upgraded cluster that you get if you order the technology package. Sometimes they call it the 7-inch screen package. I know on the Wrangler they called it the tech package. But anyway, if you get the Overland, Sahara, Rubicon, then most of them, or maybe all of them, are going to have this. So basically, and unless you have like a base sport model, you're going to see this. But I just really love the way that it's so user-friendly. It's so customizable. You know, you can change, like up here, all of these positions. You can change the information that it shows you. You know, you've got the tire pressure there, but you can flip through and see your coolant temperature, your transmission temperature, which is really handy if you're towing, your oil temperature, oil pressure. There's your oil life, of course, battery voltage. I mean, there's just all kinds of information in there. Of course, you've got other pages like your off-road pages showing your pitch, your roll, steering input, fuel economy has a few different gauges, trip information. If your start-stop system isn't turning on, it'll tell you right here why that is. I mean, you can just go through here and see there's a lot of different things you can flip through and a lot of information available here, and it's just so user-friendly too. So I just really love that. Another thing I love is this gas door. Now, a lot of people, you know, this is kind of controversial for some reason. Obviously on the Gladiator, they did this differently than they did on the Wrangler. They gave a nice, you know, average looking fuel door here, covers up your fuel cap, and the awesome thing about it is the tether is really long and it gets the fuel cap out of the way. On the Wrangler, this tether was really short and the fuel cap hung right here. So it was inevitable that when you pulled the nozzle out, you were going to drip a little bit of gasoline on here, and it was just really annoying. Some guys would extend the tether or come up with some other ways to move it out of the way, but on the Gladiator it's not a problem because the tether's plenty long enough. It moves the cap out of the way, and then of course you've got that nice looking fuel door that covers everything up and makes it look sleek and really nice. Just a nice touch there. Now, probably the biggest thing I love about this truck is the Max Tow package. And in fact, it's such a big deal that if it wasn't for the Max Tow package, I wouldn't have even bought this truck. The Max Tow package completely changes the game. As you can see here, well, if I get it to focus, you can see there my maximum payload capacity on this truck is 1,511 pounds. Of course, I lost a little bit of weight there, or, you know, let me try that again. Load carrying capacity. I lost a little bit because of the options that are on the truck. You know, the maximum number you can get there is 1,600 pounds. But still, at 1,511, that puts this truck, you know, right up there in the same category as a lot of the full-size trucks. You know, I've had an F-150, Chevy Silverado. I've had several of those, Dodge Ram 1500s. And you know, this payload capacity is right up there, same category, same ballpark as those full-size trucks. And that really opens up a lot of possibilities, especially when you're towing a trailer, because the trailer, as we've talked about before, subtracts from your payload. You know, that tongue weight on your trailer subtracts from your payload number. So the more payload you have, you know, in practical sense, the more trailer you can tow, especially if you're hauling a family with you. Now, this number on this Max Tow package is 30% higher than a Rubicon or your average Overland. So again, this Max Tow package is really a game changer, and if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't have even bought this truck. Now, obviously, as you can see, I have the top and the doors off, and that's the next thing that I have to mention. You know, everybody knows that the Wrangler is unique, and now the Gladiator is unique because this is the only pickup truck that you can do this. I've had this thing for probably a week now, stripped down like this. You know, thankfully the weather's been pretty nice, no rain, but it's really been nice. You know, I took the top off, took the doors off, and you know, it's really been enjoyable, even more enjoyable than I expected. It's just really been a blast, and it makes the truck a whole lot more fun when you can do this and you can kind of do different things with it. You know, it's not just a truck. You can also have a lot of fun with this vehicle. You know, my wife and I, my son took it to Frankfurt one night, had some dinner, and just really enjoyed the open air experience, enjoyed this late summer evening, late summer weather that we've been having. And it's really cool that you can do that and still pull a trailer and still haul things. So, gotta mention the top and the doors. It really makes this truck, you know, what it is. The next thing I'll mention is the ruggedness of this truck. I mean, look how beefy that axle is. This, of course, is the wide track heavy duty version of this 3rd generation Dana 44 axle, what they call the Advantech axle. But this thing is just really beefy, really heavy duty. The suspension is really big. Everything under here just looks like it's going to last a long time. It's going to handle a lot of weight. It's never going to give me any trouble. And if you look up front, you'll see the same thing. All the components in the front are much larger, much more heavy duty than what you're going to find on any of the competitors' trucks. I mean, this thing is just really overbuilt. And I appreciate that, because even if you don't use this to its maximum, you know, even if you don't rock crawl and push this truck to its limit, this is something that's going to benefit you because it's going to last for a long time. Another point that I'll mention is just the space that they give you for larger tires. Everybody who's a truck guy, or especially if you're a Jeep guy, you know that we love to increase the tire size because not only does it look better, but it functions better if you ever leave the paint booth. And these trucks, the way they're designed with those huge wheel housings, you just got a lot of space in there. You can upgrade these tires very easily. These are 33s, of course, and it just swallows these things up. It really needs a 35 on it, so probably we'll end up putting some 35s back on here soon. But I mean, just look at all the space you've got. Now granted, I do have a small spacer lift on here now, but even when I didn't, you guys saw that video, we put 35s on here and just barely had to do some trimming. So I really appreciate the fact that Jeep listens to its consumers, and they know that we like to put big tires on these things, and they make it easy to do that. You know, I looked at a Ford Ranger, one of those, well, they're trying to pass it off as a new Ford Ranger. Anyhow, up here in the front, the A-arms were so close to the sidewall of the tire. I mean, the ball joint was like right there. You had maybe a ½ inch. There was no way that I could see putting a big tire on that truck, just no way. I mean, you'd have to use wheel spacers to push it out, or, I mean, you'd have to make some pretty serious modifications to really put a big tire on that truck. You know, I'm assuming that the Tacoma, the Colorado, all those IFS trucks are probably the same way. You'd have to use some really negative offset wheels or wheel spacers or something to be able to really upgrade your tires. So I really appreciate the fact that you don't have to do all that on this Jeep. You know, and while I'm talking about that, the other thing I really like about this truck is just the ease of modability in general. I mean, there's just 50 trillion parts. You got bumpers and lift kits, wheels and tires and fenders and inner fenders and doors, tube doors, winches, lights, you know, various types of tops. I mean, there's just all kinds of things you can buy for these vehicles. And it makes it easy to customize it the way that you want it, and to kind of make it yours and make it, you know, what you would build. You know, you can kind of build your own vehicle, you know, to a certain extent. So I really like that. You know, you're not going to find that anywhere else, especially with the Ranger, the Colorado, the Frontier. It's hard to even find hardly anything for those. You know, this truck, you've got all kinds of options, and that just adds to the fun factor. Something else I really love is how easy it is to do maintenance on this truck. These Pentastar engines are just a cakewalk. You have a top load oil filter right there, piece of cake to get to. You pull it out, pop the new one in, and then up under the truck, obviously you've got a whole bunch of space. You don't even have to use jack stands or anything. You can crawl up underneath this truck, pull the drain plug out of the oil pan. You can do an oil change in your driveway in literally 5 minutes on one of these. It's so easy, and it's really inexpensive because they've designed this engine to use 5 quarts of oil, so you can just buy one jug at Walmart or wherever and a filter, spend 20, 25 bucks, do it in 5 minutes. I mean, it's just as easy as it can possibly get. And all your other fluids, of course, are real easy to get to. They've just made it really easy to maintain your vehicle, you know, and take care of it if you're somebody who likes to do these things yourself. So that's something we can't overlook here. Another thing I'll mention is the fuel economy. I mean, I don't know where the idea comes from, but for some reason people think that Jeeps are terrible on gas. I've never experienced that. All of my Wranglers have been really easy on fuel, and this truck is no different. I mean, obviously I've got the 35s off of it and some stock size tires back on it right now, which really helps, but I've been driving this thing around all day. I just filled it back up again. Look at the gas mileage. I mean, over 20 miles per gallon. You can't hardly beat that. This is a truck that you can do just about anything you want to do with it, and it still gets really good gas mileage. I can't complain about that at all. You know, right now it's summertime and it's not an issue, but let me tell you something. This heated steering wheel is awesome in the wintertime. I was first introduced to this because my wife's Jeep Cherokee has it, and the first time I drove her Jeep on a really, really cold day, you know, you're freezing, it's like 10 degrees, it's wind's blowing, the wind chill's below zero, you're just an icicle, and you get in the car and the steering wheel's really cold, your hands are already cold, it's miserable, and then you just push that button and within minutes your hands are nice and toasty. First time I experienced that, I was in love. And so I made sure to get the cold weather package on this truck because this winter, that heated steering wheel is going to be awesome. I also really, really like the way they design these rear seats. I mean, look at this. It's a split bench. You can raise the back of the seat up and down, which gives you obviously a flat load floor if you need that. And it gives you space to store things back here rather easily. But you can also fold that part of the seat up. Try doing that in a Ford Ranger. Ain't gonna happen. You know, going is great, but it's not great if you can't stop. And this truck has huge brakes on it. The brakes on this thing are as big as the ones I had on my full-size crew cab F-150. They're just massive, massive brakes. And you can tell too, because when you've got a trailer behind you, this thing does a really, really good job of stopping in a controlled fashion. Nothing gets out of sorts, it feels confident. And just in day-to-day driving, the brakes feel really great. You know, and if you put larger tires on this truck, it's a benefit also. The more braking force you've got, the safer you're gonna be, and the more fun it's gonna be to drive the truck, because it's not gonna scare you to death every time some idiot pulls out in front of you. So I really appreciate that Jeep gave us some really big, beefy brakes. Check that out. How many trucks have not only a receiver hitch, but a tow hook mounted to the back also? You know, this is one of my pet peeves in general with trucks. If you start paying attention to all the 4x4s that are out on the road, it will shock you how many of them don't have any tow hooks on them. There's no way to recover them if they get stuck in the mud or the snow, and they certainly can't help someone else who's stuck in the mud or the snow because the manufacturer didn't put any kind of tow hooks on there. Well, obviously when you buy a Jeep, that's not going to be a problem. You get 2 really heavy-duty ones up front, and you get that big one in the back too. There's always a place to attach your strap if you need help or if somebody that you know needs help. So it might seem like a minor detail to us because we're used to it, but like I said, start looking at the Fords and the Chevys and the other brands out there in the world, and you'll realize that this is actually a really nice thing that they gave us. Check it out. You can actually see inside the bed, even with the bed cover closed, thanks to the fact that Jeep gave us these really awesome LED lights back here. You've got one on both sides, and man, that is so, so nice. I don't know how many years I've had to carry a flashlight so that I could get in the back of my truck at night and see what I'm doing. Not anymore, because this right here fixes the problem. The way that they integrated this wiring for your trailer is just really professional looking. You've got the 4-pin, but you also have your RV style hookup down there too. This is standard on every Jeep Gladiator. So you don't have to fool with wiring and having pigtails hanging down and all that stuff. Nice, clean, professional looking installation that I really appreciate. And like I said, this is standard across the board. So even if you get one that doesn't have the towing package, you could always add your receiver hitch later because the hard part, which is your wiring, is already there. Even though this vehicle has an open top and open doors, they realize that that's not going to be the case year round. I mean, people are going to have air conditioning and heat going at certain times of the year, and they gave the rear passengers these two little vents back here, so you can actually open those up and keep your rear passengers cool or warm regardless of what the weather's like. Everybody can be comfortable, and that's also something that you just don't see on every truck in this class. So kudos to Jeep for thinking of even the little things. So I guess at the end of the day, I could go on and on and on about this truck, but I think you get the point. There's a lot of details that they thought of in this Jeep Gladiator that just sets it apart. It just makes it kind of in its own league, really. I mean, yes, it competes in the mid-size market, but there's not another truck out there that gives you what this truck gives you. Yes, this truck is more expensive. Obviously, it's more expensive. Everybody knows that. But you get a lot more truck for the money, way more truck for the money. And so if you're looking around at these mid-size trucks and you're kind of wondering what you might get, and you're looking at the Jeep Gladiator, you kind of like it, you know, hopefully this video will kind of enlighten you to some of the things that are different about this truck you're not going to get anywhere else. You know, that's just a kind of a list I ran down real quick of things I love about this after I've had it now for a few months. I'm sure there'll be other things that pop up later on, but you know, again, I just really, really love this truck overall. Very happy with it, and I don't see myself getting rid of it anytime soon. Hey, I got to get back to the house, but thank you guys for watching. Have a good rest of your weekend.